In case we forgot.
Or we can just say the name of people who came later. So
Jane.
Christian, Jane, and Sue. Okay, so let's go.
Oh, good morning, everyone.
Hi, Bob.
Yours off.
God. Well, for those that are new and don't know what we talk about, in the traditions they call it non-duality. If you can't hear me, tell me to speak up. Non-duality meaning not two, one without a second. And that's what we try to point to here and ask you to look to see for yourself. So I can't teach you anything and I can't tell you anything. That's all I do. I point toward and ask you to look to where I'm pointing to see for yourself. Because no matter what you believe or what you've understood, nobody can ever teach you anything and nobody can ever tell you anything. Because, as I say, if we're talking about non-duality, there is nothing other than that. There's not two. So who is there to teach you or tell you? Another way I put it, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not talking to any mind. I'm not talking to your body mind that you think that you are. I'm talking about that I am. That I am. And that I am is the sense of presence that expresses through the mind as the thought I am. Just to this, nothing else. So that gives you a bit of idea what it's all about. Now, as we say, non-duality means not two. They say one without a second. And the great mantra that you all heard and all know and all say is, I am that. And, and innately, you know that. Everything is that. Because that's the chair you're sitting in. That's the room we are in. That's the space outside. That's the sky. That's the trees. That's the flowers. So innately we know it, but we discriminate it. Put the idea of the person on it, the separate entity. That is all there is. It couldn't be anything other than that. Otherwise it wouldn't be non-dual. It would be duality. And that's how it appears to be. It appears to be a dualistic manifestation. And that's why they call it in the scriptures a phenomenal manifestation. The definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. So it's all seemingly so. You take yourself to be this person, this individual. But are you a person? Are you this body? Are you this mind? Are you this individual or separate entity? They're things we ask you to look at to see for yourself. So if it's non-dual, as they say, it can't be any of those things. It's the one essence that's patterning, shaping, forming, experiencing, and expressing as everything. A lot of the texts and scriptures and most of the beliefs will call it God. You can call it God if you like, but then, have you ever investigated what God is? We make out that God is the one essence, the higher power, the pure intelligence energy. Well, if that is so, where does that leave room for you or me or anything else? So everything is already that. Got taken on this belief that we're a separate entity and a person. What we say here is also to look at these things, see for yourself, and we tell you that the false cannot stand up to investigation. So some of these beliefs we've taken on, when you really question them and look into them, they'll fall apart, as you already know. As you see yourself, if you go down to the ocean and I ask you to get me a bucket of blue water out of the sea, what would you say to me? Don't be stupid, because you know the sea's not blue. You've investigated, but it appears to be blue. The sky appears to be blue, but go up 30,000 feet in the plane, where's the blueness? Still coming in from the ports. So there are a couple of things that when you investigate you see not real, and there's many others. The colours in the rainbow. Go outside and look at a rainbow in the sky, and it really only appears to be so. It's the sunlight expressing through the mist that forms on the background of rainbow with all these colours. The water in the mirage. There are many, the snake and the rope. There are many different tales they tell, pointing out that it's all an essence. Are you this body-mind? Well, we'll investigate that in a minute and have a look at it. Are you this person? Well, we need to look into that and investigate it. Tells you in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, the Word was God. We don't realise that's all that God is, a label or a word we put on things. All things were made by Him, by the Word. And there's nothing made that was made without the Word. Isn't that so? You're labelling all these things with the Word. How many words were you born with? And you realise you weren't born with any words. So how do you know you were born? That's why you can't remember your birth, because you had no words to say, I was born at this particular time. And the first couple of years of your life, you lived without any words until you learnt words from your parents. So you can function quite well without the words, without the mind, because that living was going on for those couple of years without it. So it's about 2.5, the capacity of reasoning developed in these patterns. And that capacity of reasoning, when we put labels and words on it, is what you believe yourself to be. Today, this person. Where does the word person come from? Doesn't it come from the ancient Latin persona, the mask? We've got this conceptual image about ourselves, a mask of concepts which we take to be real and get lost in the word. So need to question and investigate these things. Are you the body? Well, innately you already know you're not the body, because don't you say my body? Don't you say my house? My car, my coat, my hat? You know you're not the coat, the hat, the car or the house. Maybe you're not the body either. The same with my mind. So we believe ourselves to be this body-mind, but when you look and investigate it and see, what's this body made up of? You realise this body is made up of elements. Air, earth, fire, water and space. Just like the elements around you right now. If you think you're separated, separate yourself from the air, stop breathing. See how long you'd last without that. Take the body temperature, the fire. See how long you'd last without that. Take the water out of your body. Your body's 60% water. You'd soon die of thirst. Take the body temperature out. You'd soon get hypothermia without that body temperature. So you see this body's made of nothing but the elements. And all those elements can be broken down to subatomic particles, the pure energy. So all this body is really is a vibrating pattern of energy. And that's see the way it functions. It's always vibrating in the opposites. As Shakespeare told you 400 years ago, or 500 years, there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And how does the thinking happen? Have a look. And see thoughts are vibration, a movement of energy. It's always vibrating in the pairs of opposites. And the thinking is always the same. It's either good or bad, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, loving, hating, positive, negative. Have a look at your minds and see if it functions any other way. You see it's not. So you realise you can't be this body. What about your mind? Well, what's a mind? Show me your mind if you think you are the mind. You say, my mind. Well, show me your mind. Is there such a thing as mind apart from thought? And if you realise that thought is mind, you must be a thought. Which particular thought would you be? Or wouldn't you be the primary thought, that I am thought, that sense of presence, which translates through the mind as the thought I am? And if you were that thought, you'd be frightened of losing it, because it'd be the end of you. But you gladly give it up every night when you go to sleep. So you know you're not that thought. Gladly give it away. You look. So what are you? That leaves you as the life itself, the pure life, the animating life, the intelligence energy that came in it. How did that begin? We'll go back to your father and your mother, but you can go back as far as you like and look into it, investigate. That pattern that you call your father, that innate intelligence energy, through the food he's eating and the air he's breathing, enabled in that pattern a little sperm to form. You can't see it with your naked eye. Now that sperm is suffused with intelligence energy, the life. It knows what to do. And the same in the mother. The life essence in your mother, again through the little microscopic particle called an egg or an ovum to form. That ovum or egg attaches itself to the wall of the uterus. And the sperm swam to the ovum. It knew what to do. When those two came together, that cell doubled and redoubled and formed the little embryo, the little fetus, is what you are today. That's where you began from. What were you doing about it then, when you didn't have any words? Nothing at all. So you realise you're living before you learnt the words. So in that case you must be prior to the word. You must be before the word. You're prior to the thought. So take the thought out of that body and you've got a corpse. And before it breaks down and rots and disappears, the corpse, still got the organs in it and the things. But those corpses, before they've rotted and broken down, the eyes can't see, the ears can't hear, the lungs can't do the breathing, the hair and fingernails start growing. Nothing can happen without that life. And you look at a computer, you've got all that amazing information in a computer, but what good is that without the power? No good at all. And what good are you without the life? Then you can understand what Christ was talking about when he says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. People thought he was talking about himself, but he wasn't. He was trying to point out that you are the same as he and everything else is. You are that life. And life lives on life. For out of life, more life's continually coming. There is nobody who lives a life. But we've taken on this idea we are this person and see the problems that causes. Because the person is believed in me or I, and we take this me or I to be a separate entity, an individual. And me can be very fearful. Me can be anxious. Me can be depressed and unhappy. Me is the cause of all my psychological suffering. And what's the cause? Well, that's me is the cause. That's what so-called karma is. Cause and effect. But what happens if I ask myself, can there be an effect if I'm not relating to the cause? Well, you don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to work that out. Where can the effect lodge if it's not related to the cause? Can't lodge anywhere. So we got this cause and effect, this psychological suffering going on all the time. We believe it to be so because we never question it. So how does that work in your body? Well, something comes up in your body and I like it, not realising that this body is transient. There is nothing static about it whatsoever. It's transient, it's constantly changing right now. Right now, in this instance, there are thousands of cells, not one or two, but thousands of them dying and being replaced. What are you doing about that if you think you're running the show? You realise you can't do anything about it, but it's happening, that life that you are. It's expressing through it, that's doing it all for you. It brought you into existence. And it's the living being of you right now. So this something comes up and you like it. And we don't want the things we like to go. Not realising that everything is transient. No matter how much you love it, no matter how much you want to keep it there, it's going to change. We don't want it to happen. So we fixate on it and try and alter it, modify it or correct it, instead of leaving it as it is. And it changes. So there's constant change going on there. So something comes up as its opposite, and I don't like it. See, when a thought comes up and I like it and want to keep it there, I resist it from going. Trying to keep it there, I resist it from going. So what's happening in the body then? There is resistance, and resistance is conflict. You're at war with it then, you're fighting it. And conflict makes you uneasy. It makes you anxious, fearful, unhappy, depressed. And that conflict is uneasiness. Another name for that is disease. And you see where all these diseases arise in this body, in this mind. Something comes up and I like it. This is good. Oh no, I don't like it. I try to keep it. Something comes up and I try to keep it there, not realising no matter how much I love it, it's going to change anyway. but I don't want it to go. Can't stop it or resist it. So there's, again, now fighting it, trying to keep it there. A resistance, conflict and disease. Now that conflict causes my psychological suffering. For it's only the me that can be unhappy. Only the me that can be shameful or guilt or fearful or anxious. Me is the cause of all my psychological suffering. And the effects are my unhappiness, my sadness, my guilt, my shame, remorse. They're the effects of it. So that's all the so-called karma is, cause and effect. If I look into it and see there's no cause, ask myself the simple question, can there be effect if it's not related to the cause? Realise I can't. Well then, in seeing that, I realise I can be rid of all this psychological suffering. All I've got to do is recognise the truth. And that's the scriptural saying, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. What are you free from? You can only be free from the conceptual beliefs we've taken on board. Now we believe this and we believe that. Shakespeare tells you there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Nisargadatta tells you nothing can trouble you, and he means exactly that. Nothing at all can trouble you except your own imagination. And when you look at that, and you'll see that's true. Break that word imagination down to imagine, imagine, and realise that's what we're doing. A thought will come up, we put these conceptual images on it, take it to be real, and we lock into the images. So we're bound by these conceptual images we're having on. And nothing can trouble you if you're not imagining it anything, just leaving it as it is. And that's a fact, but needs to be looked into, investigated and seen for yourself. And that's what happens when it's investigated. Thoughts will come up out of habit. But what's your next thought going to be? And you can't tell me what your next thought's going to be, but thoughts will arise. If they arise, if they come up, and I haven't thought about them, that doesn't mean that the thoughts are spontaneous. But see what happens when a thought comes up. We translate it into the thought, I think. I'm thinking this thought. As soon as you say, I think, what have you done? You formed a subject, a thinker. And that thinker is what you call I or me. Now that thinker is thinking this thought. And we take the thought to be real. So what do you do when you form the thinker? You formed a subject, a thinker. Now instead of being the absolute, the spontaneous natural intelligence, you've come the subject, this person. I think this, I think that. And then that'll continue into other thoughts, and all sorts of concepts and ideas will come up. But if you ask yourself this, can the thought I think actually think? Thinking is happening in form, subject, object. Can the thought I think actually think? No, you realise there's thinking going on, and it translates as the thought I think. And I don't think. So the thought I think cannot think. Thinking is happening, translated by the thought I think, and formed a subject and object, but there's just actually the thinking. The same with the seeing. The thought I see comes up, but can the thought I see? The thought I see can't see, but you formed an object, a subject, and you got this thought I see, me, Bob, the Australian, whatever you believe, has the capacity of thinking, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, feeling. But the ing, the seeing, the hearing, the tasting, the touching, the thinking, the feeling. That's the actuality. That's what's going on spontaneously and naturally. And it's not divided at all. It is the one essence, like they tell us, that's being, knowing and seeing, tasting, touching, doing everything. But now we've split it into the subject-object and lose sight of the reality of it. And as soon as I see this, I form a concept about it, and this is good, and this is bad, this is pleasant, this is painful. And so it goes on. I get locked into all these concepts. Now they call it, in Buddhism, one of the things they call it a cognizing emptiness. We think we are cognizing or knowing the emptiness. But the Buddha calls it a cognizing emptiness. But it's not that we are cognizing the emptiness, it's emptiness that has the capacity of cognizing. And the Buddha made the statement that emptiness is form. That all these patterns, shapes and forms, you, me and everything else in this manifestation, are that cognizing emptiness. And he turned it round the other way and said the form can be nothing other than the emptiness. And that's what it's doing. We're cognizing and putting labels on these things and putting the belief that these patterns, shapes and forms, which are appearances, are real. But they're nothing but the emptiness. What is the emptiness? What is the life essence? That life essence is the silence, the stillness, the space like awareness. Can you find a centre to space? Can you find a circumference to the space? Has space got any substance at all? Can you cut it? Can you part it? Can you grab it? You can't. But realise all this manifestation is all the content of space. Can you postulate or think of anything that could be out of space? What would it be in? You realise it'd have to be that space, that silence, that stillness. So the content of space is no thing. We say it's empty, it's nothing. But we don't mean that it's nothing, it's no thing. And realise you're a thing, I'm a thing, the tree's a thing, the flower's a thing. All the manifestation are things appearing in this no thing. Or just ask yourself the simple question, can something come from no thing? It can't. So you and I, as these pattern shapes and forms, are just the expressions of that pure, what I call, for want of a better term, intelligence entity, the life essence. You are that life essence. You're not the person. You're not the separate entity. And that life essence is the one life that's patterning, shaping, forming and expressing as everything. You can call that God if you like. But you see, I don't use the term God here because you can get confused with that term. Purely and simply, we all come from different traditions, different backgrounds, and each one of us will have our concept about God and see how that works in the world. The Hindus have got their concept, the Muslims, the Buddhists, the atheists, the agnostics. We're all fighting over this thing we call God, which they tell you in the Bible is all of this is a word. And the word's not the thing. But what is it? You must be that life essence itself. You can't negate that. And that's what Christ told you, I am the way, I'm the truth, I am the life. He wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about that sense of presence. He knew that. And he says, I and the Father, I and that essence are one and the same thing. But the Father, that essence, is greater than this conceptual image, which it is. So, that's what we need to do, investigate this essence and see for ourselves. Nobody's ever going to do it for us. doesn't take much investigation. If something comes up, and ask yourself, who's this happening to? The obvious answer is it's happening to me. But that fellow up the road says there is no me. Is he right or is he wrong? I'll question it and have a look. What is me? Me is a word, a thought. How many words was I born with? I wasn't born with any words. But two and a half was around that age before I learnt the first word. But I lived without the word. So I must be prior to the word. So if I'm prior to the word, how can I be this I or me? They're concepts or words I picked up. And where does that leave me? What if I'm not the word? What must I be? I can only be that life. And that is the godliness. The one life that pattern shapes and forms and experiences as everything. And you are that. That is what you are. That's what you've always been. That's what you always will be. They take the life out of that body and you've got a corpse, as I pointed out before. And these words are not coming up without the word. What's happening right now with that life? What's your next breath? Do you know anything about your next breath? And you don't. But that next breath is going to happen, isn't it? What about the heart beating? Do you know, you're saying, am I going to beat my heart? I'm going to take the next thought. You're not. But the heart is beating, the breath's happening, the concepts, ideas and images are coming up. Life is living. It's pure being. As they call it in Hinduism, Sat Chit Ananda, Nama Rupa. Sat is existence. Chit is consciousness. Ananda is loving to be. And the other two factors, Nama Rupa, name is Nama, Rupa is form, the body. They say Nama Rupa are Maya, illusion. This body mind is illusion. So they say it's a phenomenal manifestation. A manifestation made up of form, phenomena. Look up your dictionary, look up the word phenomena. The definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. So all this manifestation, you, me and everything else, are seemingly so. And it needs a pattern to express through. It can't express through that pure essence. So what does it do? The amazing intelligence does, it forms this body with the organs, the ideas, the mind, the mental capacity, everything in it. So it's all forming as Maya. Well, have a look at that. Existence, consciousness, bliss. We think we're going to become something. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what the search is. We're searching to become this God, or one with this thing called God. Not realising that it's all there is. And aren't you being right now? You're existing right now, aren't you? You're not unconscious right now. You're not unaware. You're aware right now. And you're happy to be right now. You wouldn't want to be dead for quids right now. So you already are that existence, consciousness. What's the search all about? Another way they put it is being, knowing and loving to be. Anyone's not being right now. Yeah, I'm being. But you call yourself a human being. Anyone who's not knowing. No, I am knowing right now. And anywhere you want to be dead, you don't. So you're being, knowing and loving to be. Now you call that being a supreme being. You put the label on, if you believe in God, you call God the supreme being. And you call yourself a human being. What if you took that label supreme off and took the label human off? Try and separate the being that is with you right now. Tell me I am not. Tell yourself I am not. You can say it as much as you like, But you can't negate that beingness. So you already are that. What's the point of trying to become something that you already are? All that does is take up the problem, the thinking problem that goes on, that keep it going with thoughts, feelings and emotions. Settle down in the fact that you already are that. And let that livingness, that beingness happen, which it does. You don't know what your next breath is, you don't know what your next thought is, but breathing, think is happening. It's all happening naturally, effortlessly and spontaneously. So as Ram Dass used to tell you, be what you are. Not what you think you are, not what you believe you are, but be actually what you are. And all you can put on it, when you look at, see this body-mind as a vibrating pattern, it's Maya, it's illusion, it's a fiction. But you can't negate that life. And look around you and realise that is all there is. There is only life. There is nobody who lives a life. Life lives on life. And out of more life comes. And like Christ says, you are the life. You are the life. Doesn't he tell you in the Sermon on the Mount, take no thought for your life? What you shall eat, what you shall drink, what you shall wear. Your Father knoweth you have no of these things. Your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Look at the birds in the air. The air, they don't gather into barns. They don't sow crops and reap and those. Look at the lilies in the field. Even Solomon in his glory it didn't have the colours of one of those. Which of you, by taking thought, can add one cubit to his stature? You can't. But we believe we are. Why don't you look into it and see whether you are or whether it's the life that's doing it all? And realise that you are that. You are already that. That's what we point out here and ask you to look at. So if you, and some of you recognise that, and some of you are looking into it, and that's the point. When you get not satisfied with what you are through all the religious things and that we've taken on board, and you haven't found the answer, it naturally pulls you and turns you to look somewhere else. And coming to something like this opens you up to something further and see where it takes you. Be open to it. If you're not open, discard it and carry on your same way, thinking in the pairs of opposites, or go to whichever you think works for you and test it out. But know the truth and recognise the truth. Recognise, be that cognizing emptiness. And that'll set you free. So that's say, some of you know it, some of you are looking at it, some of you might have questions, some of you can express it, so express it as you know it, so others might hear it, if it's said in a better way than what's being said here. But it's up to each and every one of you to do what you will about it. So away you go. Good kettle.
So I got a couple of comments from people who are watching with us online. There's about 30 people right now. Here, there's a few welcome, good morning messages. JB is happy to see new faces and loves your shirt. and I will be reading the 30 people. And Tanya says, without words, you can't say what anything is. You think you know what things are, but take away the ideas and I don't know anything. Nothing can be said about that. There is not even silence because that is an idea, laughing out loud. and I have no idea where this comment came from. Haha.
Yeah, that's right. Without words you can't say anything, but if you stop breathing,
Yeah.
if your heart stopped beating, hair and fingernails stop, the living's going on prior to the word, like it was before you learned any word. And the word's a useful translator, but it's not the thing.
Yeah, you don't have to pretend you know anything. Michelle says, there are qualitative differences perceived through the senses, though, without the need for thought. For example, blue exists relative to red. It takes thought to label them as such, but the eyes still pick up the difference between the two colors. So does that contrast denote too?
But it need be two to see it, wouldn't it? Something to see it other than what it is.
Mm.
Can you see it other than what it is without the word?
Yeah.
And the eyes wouldn't be able to see without.
Speak up.
The eyes.
The eyes
our
can't
physical
see.
Eyes
Yeah.
can't see without that
Yeah,
projecting.
that's exactly right.
I actually commented on it that without duality there would be no appearance at all, because the fact is, for anything to appear, it has to stand out of its background. There would be no day if there was no night. There would
you
be.
have to have the contrast, to
Yes.
know one thing and the other thing.
Yeah.
And that's why
Yeah.
fashion forms this pattern we call bodies to express through.
Mm.
They're the instruments which it's expressing through.
So I was thinking, why would life?
I'll get you the speaker so that people who are with us can actually hear you. Yes, and Bob can put his ears. Can you pass it on?
So we have Maya illusion. So I was wondering why life that created the illusion.
Who wants to know?
And I'm the illusion.
Yes. Yeah, you want to elaborate on that, Jane? So
Well,
What was the question?
why would life create the illusion? And Jane answered, who would want to know?
what does Bob want to say?
It'd be pretty ordinary in its absoluteness, wouldn't it? If it was absolute, you couldn't discriminate it. You couldn't say.
We got a bit bored with being absolute, so we came down.
Can you
to
pass it on?
reality.
Ross?
This colours it.
Yeah.
So we've got a mind, so that life created a mind and a body. I'm
Yes.
wondering why life did that.
Apparently because there is that wanting to know that's there. It's not having being in its absoluteness all the time.
I agree with
You
that.
have to repeat that, Bob, because nobody could hear me. So why life has created the illusion and the bodies and the minds? So, can you answer it again?
Well, the urge to know or the urge to express is functioning with you right now, so, as it is through anything. How is it going to express if it didn't form a pattern to express through, if it's absolute?
You understand that?
So that's what happens. But the thing is, we take the pattern, shapes and forms.
Yeah, it just appears to be a mystery, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's absolute, all the sun decides it's going to create an illusion. And the pattern.
Yeah, we'll just have to manage it a little bit better, because we have people with us who we just can't leave out. So,
Go on.
yeah.
I forget what I was going to say anyway.
Investigating your next question.
So I've got two more.
Okay,
Just, a little bit of elaboration
Yes.
on how you see. A little bit of elaboration on how you see karma, whether it's a total illusion, because we're in this body appearance and mind appearance. And I always laugh a little bit because, you know, like the Buddhists, they say there's no self, that we're all an illusion, but then people talk about reincarnation. So how would you elaborate on that concept of reincarnation?
Wait, Bob, can you just wait for 2 seconds? Oh,
It's just a concept. And what was incarnated in the
No.
first. And that's only appearance, a phenomenal manifestation. So it's really no thing. No thing has ever happened.
So there's no reincarnation and there's no karma.
No.
no reincarnation, no karma. Yeah.
Can I just...
Yeah. Thank you, Justin.
Sorry. If I could just make a comment on that point, Rohini. No reincarnation, no karma, but from my perspective, that's only in a dualistic sense, a non-dualistic sense. Non-dualistic sense. But there's dualism happening also, isn't that correct?
Well,
The two things.
The dualisms and appearance.
I mean, this is all dualism, isn't it?
Yes.
And yet, from the highest perspective,
There's
what Bob is
none.
teaching and the masters, there's
I
none.
agree with them.
So there are two things happening.
But basically, it's only the duality is only an appearance. Nothing would appear unless we had life and that, and we are that.
Yes, I think that's what's being said.
Did you want to say something?
No.
No.
I think.
Yes?
Actually, I have maybe further on your question. If, for some reason, we live our life and we never wake up to the fact that we're not this self, can that illusion carry on from one life to another life?
Well, what is illusion?
Yes.
When you see illusion is only a phenomenal manifestation, the definition of phenomena is that which appears to be.
Yeah.
It's only seemingly so. You have a dream of a night.
When you wake up.
You wake up, what happened to the dream? It disappeared.
Yeah.
And when you realise you wake up, your body hadn't moved off the bed and no words had come out of your mouth, but it seemed to be happening in the dream. But what you don't realise is we wake up to this as a waking dream. That dream, the hills and the rivers or wherever you were in that dream at night all disappear. When you wake up each morning, it has a seeming continuity from where it left off the night before. And the house, the rivers and all the rest of it's still there. And the bodies are moving around and expressing. So this is a waking dream. So it's all appearance, all dreaming.
Also, what David was saying, I like, David, how you address it, that there are sort of two different levels or directions to look at it. And from the absolute perspective, when you think of yourself as the life, as the energy, just if you were thinking of yourself as the electricity, and now you reincarnated to one lamp, to another lamp, reincarnated to toaster and to everything else that is electrically, the computer, and you are all that electricity. Your body of expression is 1, 2, 3. You can even incarnate to few bodies at the time. But when you switch off, it's not that the same portion of electricity goes to another body. So when you die, life comes back to life. But it's not that there is a fraction of life defined as me and that fraction goes somewhere else and continues. Life continues, just like electricity continues. But it's not. Bob has a beautiful analogy about that. When you put the drop of water back to the ocean, Can you ever get the same drop out again? The water will evaporate, will become clouds, rain, go to the rivers, waterfalls, but it will be a water, the body of water, but not a particular drop shaped in a way which we accustomed to believe is an ego or soul or something separate, permanent mine, something unique about me. So in this sense, in the relative sense, yes, you can see how the life incarnates to every thought. There is life incarnating. 1, 2, 3. Relatively, reincarnation, incarnation. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe, like Julia pointed once.
No
Reincarnation. Yeah, but it incarnates. Incarnation happens constantly. But in the absolute sense, nothing has ever happened. This is a dream-like reality which only exists because it appears to be. It is nothing pretending to be something. It is both nothing and something. Did you want to... Oh yeah, go.
Bob and Kate, I just wonder, the question of karma was brought up also in this. And I particularly like the analogy that has been given in the past about the glass. Maybe you'd like to share that with us today.
Glass.
The glass of half water,
Glass
water that's
half
half
full.
full.
Glass half
You
full,
know?
glass half
Oh
empty.
yeah, Jane, you go on it.
No, I don't know it. I'm just saying that he said it's an analogy about the glass half full, glass half.
No, about karma.
Can you say it? Because I don't remember.
You don't
I don't
you were the one that told me.
Really?
Okay, well,
Tell me how amazing I was. I forgot it.
well, this is how I remember it. It was given to me in a satsang a while back. We were talking about karma, and the way it was described to me was that if you can imagine a glass half full of water, and we hold it out here like this, or perhaps over some tiles, and this glass is the ego with the individual karma, so-called individual karma in it. And we drop the glass onto the tile floor and it breaks. The glass is no more, the water's there, but it's sort of gone everywhere. And that glass is the ego, and the water in it is the karma that's been, good or bad or whatever. It has been accumulated over a lifetimes, whatever. But once the ego is gone, then there is no individual self to grab hold of anything, whether it's good karma, bad karma. It may exist in some form, but the individual ego is completely gone.
Yeah,
I've heard
I am that I haven't got an ego.
Well, what about the habit of egoing?
Naming and claiming.
Is that gone?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. The individuals, what most of us claim is the individual self, body, mind, but the ego is the big one, really.
The ego is just the me, which is just a memory, which is, ego is just hang on a sec. Ego is just another word for me.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
and
yes.
me is only in the memory, and so when the memory is no longer,
Yeah. When
Well-
you mean when the individual self is no longer?
well,
The identity with
the individual self is the me.
is the ego.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
just different names
Yeah,
for the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So suddenly you're looking down and you've got little hoofs and fur and instincts, and it's now what's happening to me now. As it was in this life, what's happening to me now. So the grasping is still the habitual grasping is still there.
That's
the
right.
habit is still there,
That's right.
but it's now, and then it loses its memory of, because it's no longer got anything to relate to as the me of this life.
Yeah.
But it's like it's reforming from the habit of me
That's
in the new
as
form.
I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the ego is still there. But as I understand, what Bob is pointing to is when the point is reached where we completely drop the ego and we're in that I state. Is that correct, Bob?
There's no ego either.
No, the I am state.
Oh, the I am state. Yeah, but there
Okay,
is no
let's
ego in the
stop
first
there.
place. It's just a memory or a me. Yeah.
The I am state is just a sense of presence. That's all. And no person will know anything.
Yes. I have
Go
few.
on, Bob. Yeah.
Someone?
Yeah.
There's no sense of presence at all. Never was, never
Sense
will
of
be.
presence there is. No ego. You mean? No ego.
No ego,
Yeah.
no personal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All breaks down into no thing. Still no thing has ever happened. It appears to be so. And who it's appearing to is the fiction also. It seemingly couldn't be the other without the one, so they're interdependent in a way, but no absolute reality to any of it. All like a dream.
We have a couple of requests from people who are online with us, and we have 35 people now. So Rosa says, could Bob share more on the word actuality when he mentions seeing, tasting, feeling, etc.? I can grasp, but it expanding would be clearer. Actuality, what's the actuality?
Well, the actual seems real, doesn't it? It can't be negated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can you negate the beingness?
No,
Can you say there is something there, though?
no.
But you can't negate it, you can't deny it.
Mm.
Well, it's just as it is.
She was suggesting about elaborating on seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. I think this is what she was looking forward to, more clarification on that. So nothing more comes up, Rosa. You just Skype Bob and have a little bit of a private time with Bob. Go on, Rose.
I'd just like to take that a little bit further with the reincarnation and karma. It seems that all happens in the dream.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite... Kat was suggesting that just in the momentary thoughts. But if it's all happening in the dream, well, anything can happen. And the Buddha, through Ananda, he's the chief disciple who committed all the Buddha's suttas to memory. He related a story of this man that used to give the Buddha a hard time. He would never give any dana. When the Buddha and his monks went on a morning where they walked out with their bowls and they took donations of food. That I can't think of the name of that, but there was this man who was very stingy and never gave anything to the Buddha, always had disparaging things to say about him. And he was a very miserly sort of person. He was actually very wealthy. And that was just part of the dream, part of the story. But then that man died, and he came back. He came back in the dream as a dog, And every time the Buddha and his disciples walked past this house, the dog would come out and he'd bark ferociously at the Buddha. And the Buddha said, just called him by a name. And he said, well, say so-and-so, some Indian name, why do you carry on like this? And the dog kept snapping away. And then later one of the disciples said, well, why were you talking like that about the dog and calling him so-and-so? And the Buddha said that when he died, he came back as this dog. And all his treasures were buried in his backyard. And he addressed the dog. Now this is all going on in the appearance, right? It's a dream. Mm-hmm. He addressed the dog, and the dog said, the dog didn't say anything. The dog barked. The dog indicated that he knew what the Buddha was saying. His tail went between his legs and he scoured away, and the Buddha said, where did you bury that treasure, so-and-so? So the dog walked off, and he led some people to some place, and there they dug up the treasure of the man. So there's lots of stories like that indicate there's incarnation of one life to another life, and not necessarily a human life, or it could be higher, could be lower, could be it could be anything. But they're just little things that are in the dream.
Yeah, and I think it's a comfort to the me, to the mind, which is such a habitual thing that works in the pairs of opposites, and the me being a part of that pairs of opposites, me and the other, life and death, heaven and hell, all those things in the dream, as you were saying. It's a comfort to the me to know that there's something after this, but in fact there is only this.
If that was the...
Bob wants to say something.
Sorry.
There is next to.
Yeah, that's right.
Julia, did you want to say something?
No, next to Gerard.
Christian, did you want to say something?
Oh, sorry, Christian. Missed that. Wait. Oh, hang on.
So going back to habituation, so a realised being, which is what Bob's alluding to, is like, say, when Christ said, I'm now one with the Father. So he's no longer relating as Jesus the person, the carpenter, or he's now one with the essence. No, he's just the essence, he's the being. So the habituation has been removed from the grasping at this or that, or appearances or conceptions or I. So the being, he's now relating as the being. So that being is like deathless. So he's beyond birth and death as that being, as that. So that can still reincarnate, can still move around and take form, but it's always the being. So there's no loss or gain or death or life or So that's the yeah.
You know, it would be very interesting to.
You want to say something?
It's all stories. It all takes place in time. Well, show me time. Is there a past if you don't think about it? Is there such a thing as a past? Is there a future? You'll say, I was in the past. Well, try and live yesterday. Try and live 5 or 10 minutes ago. You can't. You can recall it, but you can't live it. So it's all, as they say in the ancient days, it's like fairy tales. Fairy tales have a beginning and an end, and generally a good moral to them. But they're all tales, all stories. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? You can't say anything at all about it. But you can't negate it. You can't say it's not. So we can talk about Buddhas and Christs and everybody else, but where are they now?
Being, yeah.
Being,
You know, it'd be interesting, I think, to
Yeah.
investigate.
Yeah. Yes, it's only pure being, that's right.
Can you?
Just one thing you said about the me wants to think there's something after this. I think also it gives comfort to think that there isn't something after this as
Oh,
well.
absolutely. When you realise there's no me,
Yeah,
you
but
realise that there's, full stop. I mean, really, yeah. But I'm saying people who
yeah,
are still living in that story, in the me and the other story, and the, here and hereafter story, it gives them comfort to live in the dream.
yeah.
They may never investigate. They might be quite happy in the dream, and it's all happening as it should.
So if there's no me, and it's unlikely that you'll ever realise that there's no me.
Well, there's
Why shouldn't you just kill yourself then?
because I
then you
love
can-
to be.
Yeah.
And there's
Because
also,
I love to be.
And there's also Dharma in the dualistic form.
Yeah.
In the dualistic
I'm not saying from my perspective. I'm just.
Yeah, it's a question,
yeah.
really, isn't it? Yeah.
What difference would it make?
None.
Well, yes, it would. In a dualistic way.
In a dualistic sense, yeah.
It would make a big difference.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if you're relating as you are,
I think.
Cat.
No, please continue.
Yeah, I think that is why we have to give the dualistic world some sort of importance. That's why I know in Buddhism you've got the two truths, the relative truth and the ultimate truth, and they're both
so that
two sides of the same coin.
the sense of a need to kill yourself would be giving it too much importance.
The me,
Yeah, if you felt you needed to kill yourself, you're giving it too much
Yeah.
importance.
it's a
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it.
yeah. You're like, yeah, you are in a sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. It's the ultimate sort of selfish,
Well, it's not going to change.
Yeah.
Your presence is not going to change your being that you are.
Yeah.
And always are, always have been, always will be. It'll change this manifestation, but if you invest in importance in destroying that, then you're over-investing it. And thinking that's going to solve your problems or something.
Yeah.
Then you're investing too much in that as the problem is relating as that you're going to kill, as opposed to what you are. That is unborn, that is here, that is present, that is pure, clear, untainted, untouched,
Unborn Buddha mind.
ever present.
Unborn Buddha mind.
Is it don't Buddha mind? Does that come up within Hinduism?
Bob will explain that one.
Yeah.
Unborn Buddha mind. Does that come up within Hinduism, or does it come up in
They
the
call it-
Hensing Ming?
Cognizing emptiness instead, or some Brahma.
Well,
The unborn Buddha mind.
well, it's all absolute. What can you add to the absolute? Nothing whatsoever.
No.
What can you take away from it? Or, as they call it in Buddhism, the great perfection. What can you add to the perfect? Nothing what you take away from it. They give it in one sentence there. The great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. So as soon as we put concepts or thoughts or ideas on anything, we're back in the trap. Leave it as it is, unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. And it changes naturally and effortlessly. But still, no thing has ever happened. It's only appearing.
And mind is a concept.
Exactly. So non-conceptual awareness without a concept.
Could I have a question? Thanks. So, Bob, when I've read about different traditions, Hinduism, often they'll talk about cycles of time, and this is a better age, that was a crappy age, we're sort of in the shit now, more or less. So, is that all just a result of the mind needing to explain stuff to itself, that we have those sort of explanations?
Well, what is the mind that can or will explain to itself? Is there such a thing? What we call mind is only thought. And which particular thought are you?
So it's what you choose to identify with.
Yeah. So no thing has ever happened to no one.
There's no choice maker.
No, it's like you don't even choose to identify. It's the life expressing through the stories. And when we think of religions, life expresses through the stories, as the stories, for bigger social order. The story about Buddha and dog is a story about not being greedy or whatever is socially accepted. And this is also life. Story as our dream. They once upon a time. There is no time. In this immediate experience, there is no past, there is no yesterday, there is no tomorrow. So story about Buddha, Jesus, all of that is just here in the head. When the thought is present, Buddha is present. When the thought is not, there is no Buddha, there is no dogs, there is no other continents. It's just what is right now. But when we look at the stories, they also like a beautiful, beloved children of the Absolute, just like flowers, the sky, the trees. They're gorgeous. So, but when we don't believe them to be truths or definitions of reality or meaning of life, then we just see the beautiful art, a story as an art. But it doesn't have to relate to me or convey anything. It's just a phenomenon, a cultural, social phenomenon, rather than the truth. And I have a few comments from people who are with us. We have again 35, 6, 4 people. And they had a few comments, gosh, quite a lot. Sorry. Too many. Dale, she says, I just realized that I don't have the big why anymore. What a freedom. Why? Why is the invitation to the mind. Yes. If the why questions don't arise, why do we do it? Why the life? Why? That's wonderful. That's fantastic, Dale. It's just great to hear. Catherine says, so grateful for the true love that emanates from you both, Bob and Kat. The love from James and Catherine, and love to you guys. Thank you. And then Tanya says, there is still breathing, hair and fingernails growing. Haven't fallen off this chair. Life functioning perfectly well without any concepts. Thank you. And questions and answers are stories, isn't it? Primali says. Absolutely. Questions, answers, stories. Now, Amarnath, neither dualism or non-dualism exists without reference, word or thought. Both are non-definable. Present moment itself is phenomenon. No coup of continuation, timeless acting as time, dream, waking. No punctuation. The realm of the relative and realm of the absolute, says Estelle. Me or mind or dream never existed, says Amarnath. Incarnation, reincarnation is to the false me relative sense only. And of course it brings up all the sense of social justice and that other stuff, an explanation why this reincarnation answers very, very basic, what she call it, relative sort of a questions. Story.
Brings up time and space.
Absolutely. And the me, and solidifies
such
it.
a thing as time, show me space.
And entertaining too. It's a mind food.
I just think it'd be very entertaining though, because there's like all these documentaries and
Do you
stuff.
want to
that-
read the rest? Okay, you go on,
sorry.
read it. Yes, because you didn't speak today and it will be good. I was requested not to show up on the videos by some people on YouTube. So.
Well, I'm gonna request that you continue to show up. So, All I was just going to add was it's all these documentaries I've seen. I've never had any memories personally, of any other life than this one. But
Go on,
there's-
like hypnosis, you'll have plenty.
yeah, apparently. I mean, I'll make something up, I'm sure, But I always thought it'd be interesting if somebody could do some sort of research where we could find out how many of us remember being King Henry VIII. Okay, or how many of us were Shakespeare? How many of us were, I don't know, just be interesting. That's all. That could, because I don't know. I mean, how many of us have been told by some storyteller, I don't call him, psychics, oh, you were a famous opera star, or you were this.
Always famous.
Yeah, I was famous. I was special.
Oh, special, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very special.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Can you
that's all.
repeat
Yeah, where are we living? Incarnation.
Michelle, I think.
Okay. So Michelle, replying to Armanath, she said, incarnation, reincarnation is the false me, relative sense only. And then Michelle said, could patterns of energy continue after the death of the body, though, without the need for a me or a self? That was the question. So could patterns of energy continue after the death of the body without a me or a self? I can go there, but
whatever. You can
I don't think you need a me or a self to have energy. The Upanishad says there's a sequence of karma is, and I'm trying to see more. Number one, the separate center self because of non-investigation. Desire arises because of separation, and separation or desire causes doership or karma. All three are false, never existed. Separate self, desire, karma never existed. Incarnation, reincarnation is the false me, relative sense only. He's replying to himself, and then to whom a pattern trace itself does not withstand to inquiry. So it doesn't stand up to the investigation, is what I think he's saying. Pramali says, if one can't remember the last life, then does it matter anyway? Good question. Yeah. Who cares? If one can't remember the last life, then and then Amarnath replied to that question. He said, remembrance or forgetting is in memory conditioning. Mm-hmm. Is there just ignorance gone as if it never existed? And then somebody else wrote, Rosa wrote, got it, it just is. And then Michelle wrote, Buddhism would say sentience or form is suffering. So the goal is to escape cyclic existence or localized consciousness. Is this the way things occur? Who knows? And then Pramali said exactly. And then Amarnath said karma is a movement of mind, separate center. Whether mind moves or not, we are all that, but prior and beyond the mind, separate center. When everything is me, Amarnath wrote, or nothing, mine is mine, or no more dreaming, or karma. Prabali wrote, the story of the dog can be just a story somebody made up. As they all are, yeah.
I'm just going to throw that in about stories because we've mentioned it a little bit. But stories are patterns that Bob was saying. So we've been talking about stories, and Bob was saying, the absolute expresses itself in patterns. To me, stories are patterns. Life wants to express itself through a variety of patterns. Just looking at all us here today.
We're patterns of energy.
We're patterns of energy.
Yeah, we're patterns of energy.
Yeah.
That's
So
what it
life's
means.
expressing ourselves through the patterns of energy. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But not a story, just a
The
pattern.
story to me is a pattern, and there's probably a set number of patterns universally, because there's probably a set number of stories, or whatever comes first, because before it's actually manifest, it's in the absolute or mental realm, and there might be just say 108 patterns that keep repeating themselves, infinite stories and patterns.
Can I just jump in and say something?
Bob wants to say
Oh,
something.
okay, sure.
Okay, now. Take away the time and space you wanted to say.
What can you postulate or think about then?
What can you postulate or think?
Or do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but absolutely the patterns.
Just
if you,
cancel it. We've just cancelled ourselves out.
It's nothing that is not a pattern. The light is pattern. The sound is pattern. Stories are patterns of lights and sounds and everything. All of them, yes. Flowers, skies, stars, cells in the body, thoughts in the mind, feelings, emotions. All of it is just movement of energy. It's nothing that is not it.
But I think that's like a fabulous, mystery. We're saying, oh, it's this and that, but, reincarnation, wow, who came up with reincarnation?
It's just another story.
Well, yes, but it's also a fabulous mystery.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, heaven and hell as well. All of it.
Can I just jump in and say something about just here? I'm just feeling like commenting on what apparently somebody is saying about not wanting to hear you. Okay.
Oh, don't worry about that.
Nah, can I just say something? Let me just say something. No, this is important. Okay. What's cool about this particular meeting is that he doesn't make anybody better or worse, higher or lower, more or less. And there's so many people here who can express the same thing you're saying, but in maybe a way that kind of reaches in a way that you don't. And you know that. And so you encourage people.
It's generosity that allows us to speak. It's because he's generous and wants to hear how we're perceiving the pointers. It's all because of Bob's generosity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I think his generosity is coming from the fact that he understands that other people can say the exact same thing he's saying, in a way that's why he encourages it, because he knows, like for example, he went to Muktananda, who said the same thing that Nisargadatta said, but it was the way Nisargadatta said it that just went, yeah. And it was like just somebody else that reached him,
I agree.
right? So Kat might say something that he didn't say,
That's right.
that just, right? So, and you say stuff, and you say things, and you say, and everybody's got something to contribute. So just whoever has it, saying, don't let anybody but the star speak. Well, I'm thankful that this star encourages everybody. Just gotta, yeah.
Yeah, and then some people don't like it, and that's their right, Like it's not. It's not just me. That person didn't like anyone to speak, but me in particular, because I was speaking more when I was reading the stuff from online.
I'm sorry, I just had to comment.
Okay, so you wanna?
No, I'm done.
Oh, yeah, it must be nearly over, isn't it?
Hi.
Yeah, and we still have quite a few.
Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
I just have a question for Bob. I suppose just recently I got introduced to Tony Parsons, and I do like it.
Don't listen to what he has to say about Bob and Eckhart Tolle and everything.
Oh, okay,
else.
no, I
Just
haven't.
ignore it.
Yeah,
Ignore
he
it.
can say what he wants to say, I suppose.
Yeah.
But he,
Poor thing.
I like the. He sort of says that. I was reading one of his books, and I think someone asked about practice versus not practice, and I spend up until recently, I just went on holiday. I do spend a fair bit of time practicing. It's something I get up quite early to do, and I get that if you feel like it's me that's practicing, then you could be reinforcing the me, and I like that idea. But then Tony Parsons says that he wants to clarify that he he's not saying don't practice because it won't lead to anything. He's saying that there isn't a you that has any choice to practice or to not practice. So whatever happens will happen, sort of thing. What is your thoughts on practicing or meditation? And if you do recommend anything, what is it?
Give him back the mic.
Well, who's the practicer? The believed in person.
So who's the practicer?
Yeah, who's the one that's practicing?
Yeah.
The believed in person.
Yeah.
Now, the question is there a person? Or is
Doesn't
it?
mean we shouldn't practice, does it?
Hmm?
It doesn't mean there shouldn't still be some sort of
No, well, if
practice can't be useful.
Yes, if practice goes on, that's what you're moved to do.
Yeah.
Just don't take credit for it.
Yeah. As
See
long
what's
as you're
happening.
not like
You're
sitting
practicing breathing, but don't say I do that.
there. Yeah.
It's life moving you to do that. Life moving you to jog or learn foreign language
Yeah.
or sit or stay or lie down.
Yeah.
And to me, practice or the techniques are for us to realise. So Bobby's saying we are that, and that's what I believe. I am that. So for me, practice techniques just keep reminding us that we are that.
Yeah.
I am that.
Reminding or remembering.
Yeah, remembering.
Because it says be transformed by the renewing of your mind. How would you renew your mind? Just keep reminding.
Remembering and remember with your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as I say, they say there's no meditator and no meditation. That's the natural meditation, and that's going on all the time.
What about when you're supposedly in the dream, caught up in thought? Yeah, if you're supposedly in the dream.
Why the what about and why the supposedly? Why are you moving away from the present?
Can you stop?
Into
Bob, can you just wait? Yeah. Why you are imagining that you are somewhere else than right here, right now?
So you can postulate all sorts of situations, but are they the reality?
Yeah. Because I'm saying, what if something happens in the future, or what if something
There is no future.
Yeah.
It's a concept.
Yeah.
Concept.
But there is going to be a future tomorrow morning at 9:30. We're going to be meeting again on Zoom. If you guys want to join us, go to Bob's website and you'll get the link, even though that's going to be now then.
And I'll be in rehearsal learning 20 new songs, so I won't be there.
What are you learning songs?
Yeah, I'm a singer.
Oh.
I'm getting a new band together.
Yeah, there's where were we? There's a lot to read, but this conversation reminds me of how I used to annoy Bob and some of the participants. Maybe I was annoying today. Sorry, folks. No, I'm not. Let's see. You can't completely negate the senses. The senses are all we've got, was what. And then that was responded to. Yes, senses are all we are to start with, and stories come later.
Yes.
Okay. Mind does not want to stop. Its stopping is death. It never wants that. That's fun game. It does not matter when you have gone beyond the mind as a thinker is absent. Thoughts do not have any meaning. Self is the meaning giver behind the mind. Energy is only one, patterns may be many. No concept stories can explain the absolute. And this may continue after death, is what Michelle responded to herself, and she wrote, hand being cut off is just an example of the suffering of form due to the senses. Some people live with chronic 24/7 pain. If no sentence or form, then no suffering whatsoever. And then Kieran wrote, Kat has helped me so much more than people can imagine due to the way she expresses everything. Ditto. I need that as it resonates and sinks in. Everything we lose in daily deep sleep presence felt as absence, similarly waking nothing expresses as everything. Tanya wrote, thank you so much for this meeting. Much love and gratitude for you all, especially Bob and Kat. Just bought a Kindle version of your book, Kat. Bags of pointers to non-duality. Looking forward to reading and investigating with it. Kieran wrote, Bob and Kat, baby is coming tomorrow via C-section. Very nervous. Yeah. Very nervous, but great to hear you both briefly this morning.
Just breathe, Kieran. You're going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, she said just...
Life's hands.
Yeah.
Take the drugs, I say.
Yeah, I did say take the drugs too. Bob and Kat, baby is coming tomorrow. Julia wrote, Kieran Mays, the body will not come out saying I did this. That's true. I made it. That's right. That's beautiful.
And then the beautiful little master will show you natural state.
And I'm hoping I didn't. There's some other laughing, but I'm hoping I caught everybody's. I didn't miss anything, but.
Thank you.
Stop the world, I want to get off.
Stop the world, he says, I'm getting up.
Yeah.
Becoming never happens.
No, that's right.
So it can only be. Anyone who's not being right now?
No.
Well, there you are. Don't forget it.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Kat.
Thank you, everyone.
Great contribution from everyone.
I love this community.
The community loves you too. And everyone.